So for utilizing the Google Maps API is relatively straightforward, but it's not going to be always that simple. So for today's challenge, it's actually a group project. There's going to be 3 to 4 of you working on this one. You're going to be utilizing 3 different APIs together, which is the Ticketmaster, a news API, and the Google Maps embed API. So with that, I just kind of want to go over go over this challenge. So just before you start, make sure you read some of this documentation. But essentially, here's the scenario. And this will be helpful when you're jump into your group projects, as well as when you're working with Agile. So when developing an app or feature using the Agile methodology, you're going to be writing features from the user's perspective. And these features are called user stories. So here's an example. As a user, I want to be able to search for an artist's concerts from the homepage and be redirected to a list where their next 5 concerts will be displayed on a map, et cetera, et cetera. So you can read through this. But I just kind of want to show you another API. So, in this specific challenge, you need to use the Ticketmaster API. And I'm not going to lie, the Ticketmaster API is kind of a pain in the ass to use because not all APIs have as great of documentation as Google does. But if we come down here and look at Ticketmaster's free API, you're going to have to log in and create an account. So I logged in, I'm right here. Create an app, and here is, don't look at my secret key. And read the documentation, where are the docs at? All right. So for this challenge, you need to you've been contacted by the client to build a new application. They'll pay you some money. So in this specific app, you need to be able to search for concerts from artists, as well as display on a map where the concerts are, as well as get news articles from from that artist. So here are some must-haves from the client. You must be able to search for an artist concerts utilizing the Ticketmaster API. So the Ticketmaster API, I kind of said it's kind of a pain in the ass. But if you read through what API endpoints you need, so I'm just going to bring this over. So we use Google Maps to display a map within an iframe, but most third-party APIs, it's literally just to get some additional data. So for example, National Park Service has an API. Ticketmaster, here's an example of one. Dark Sky, which is an old weather API that was acquired by Apple and is no longer in service, is another one. So when you, for example, for the ticket or the national response, National Park Service, when you get some data from the National Park Service, it comes back as a JSON response. And then it's up to you to parse through that JSON response. Same with the Ticketmaster API. It's not going to display a map for you or anything. It's just going to give you a bunch of data, and it's up to you to parse through that data. So for the Ticketmaster one, you have to figure out what API endpoint you need to visit to get all the concerts for a specific artist. So you can see here's an example of an API endpoint, but there's a bunch of API endpoints that you can utilize for Ticketmaster, such as get a list of all events in the United States. Here's an example. So if I literally copy this over, that has my API key in there, because I already have one. Here is all the events within the United States. And this is what will come back to your backend, to your view. And it's up to you to parse through this data to get the information you need. So look at it. It's like an object with an embed keyword with that's another object that is an array of events. And this events array has an object, and it's like a really nested so yeah, the data is really nested. So you have to like read through that and try to extract all the data from that. So here's another example: search for events sourced by the universe in the United States, or by universe in the United States with the keyword devjam. So, all right. So I'm just going to practice this one and throw that one in there. Uh-oh, what happened? All right, nothing. Looks like there's no data. It was returned here, or like, yeah, there's no events. So I'm gonna get rid of the. Go ahead.
And you're gonna just type something in to replace devjam.
Yep. So does anybody have a favorite artist that's probably performing at some point in the future that has like
J. Cole?
The Mountain Goat.
I heard J. Cole. So if I click that, is it J, like just J space Cole? I'm sure it's J.
Yeah, J space.
Let's see if this works. Plus Cole. All right, cool. So J. Cole's events are right here. So it looks like there's 20 events because that's all that's returned. And it's up to you to parse through this and try to extract what event is playing. And also, like as I mentioned in the Ticketmaster, you must be able to search for an artist's concerts. So here are the concerts. These events are the concerts. Must be able to display the concert's locations on a map. So now I have to look through here and see where I can extract some location data from this concert. So sales, dates, maybe classifications, promoters, products. So you're going to have to go through, okay, we got venues here. So here's venues. All right. State Farm Arena. Is there, all right. So we got city, Atlanta, Georgia, address right here. Here's an address. Oh, but I also have longitude and latitude as well. So maybe I can do some research and look in Google Maps and see if they accept longitude and latitude as a parameter. So that's one thing you kind of have to do. But the process to get this data into your view is a little bit differently. So in addition to displaying the concert's locations on a map, you also must display news related to that concert, related to that artist. So if I come down here, here's a Ticketmaster free API. There's also this news API. This news API is super easy to use and super straightforward. You can get started. You can create an account here. It's free. Get an API key and just read through the documentation. So if I do click there, here's an example of all articles about Tesla from the last month. So if I click that and open up that, all right, here's all articles from Tesla, sort by publish date. So maybe if I got rid of from and instead of Tesla, maybe I say J. Cole. Now here is like, here's all the articles from J. Cole sorted by publication date or published at. But I just kind of want to give you an example of how you go about displaying that stuff. And I'll just use the landmark, this application, to kind of show you. And I'm just going to display the top news, top headlines of the day. Whoop, not there.
Team USA finally won a game.
I'm sorry?
The Team USA finally won a game.
Oh, they did? Nice. So inside of my landmark, I'm just going to do this as an example. I'm just going to create a new route called top headlines that goes to a view called top headlines. What happened? Let's do top underscore headlines. Now in my view, I'm just going to create a def top underscore headlines that takes in a request. And I'm just going to return. I'm going to do some, I'm going to, grab like a request from API, parse through the request, and then return the request. Return render. I'm going to render the request. What is it? Map/top headlines.html and some data I'm going to display. So if I go to this news article API and look at the documentation, again, 80% is just reading documentation. If I click everything, so I can get every, like, here's all of articles from Bitcoin. I'm going to click top headlines. Here's all the articles for top headlines. And here are also all the different parameters you can pass into the API, like sources, Q for search for a specific search phrase, such as J. Cole, whatever your artist is. But you can kind of see what it is. So if I just wanted to search for top headlines, here's this API. So if I click that, I'm going to click in here. Here are my top headlines. And yeah. So first I'm going to do is create a top headlines headlines.html file. H1 top headlines. I just want to make sure I can display that. So if I go to landmarks/top headlines, data is not defined. Let's go into my views. I see that data is not defined. If I just do an empty dictionary, I've got my top headlines here. But I want to somehow go to this request from my view. And I don't know how to do that yet. But in here, use the Python's request library and know what to do after the response. So read through this documentation. So if I click on that, I can make API requests using the Python's request library. And since I'm doing a get dispatch to a request, I'll be using the get method. So the first thing I'll need to do is pip install requests. All right, so I have to import requests at the top of my file. I'm going to import request as REQ, just so I don't have to type out requests all the time. And now back in the documentation, I can do a get requests. So I can do request.get and go through some API right here. Here's an example of one. And I should get a response object back. So here's what I'm going to be doing. Looks like. So request get to right here, and then it gets a response back. So if I do the same thing with right here, request dot get, and instead of going to the API github.com, I'm going to get all the top headlines in the United States right there. All right, and let's just print the request right there.
You mean response?
Yeah, the response. So if I click top headlines, nothing's displayed right there. But if I look down here, where'd it go?
You typed request, no response.
Oh, thank you. I get that response 200. That means that it's a successful response back. Now, if I'm reading the documentation, I can see the status code. I can see there's the status codes. I don't get URL, status code, more stuff. All right, I can do content. I can get the text. Let's keep going right here. If the type of, what kind of data is this?
Like JSON.
That's JSON, exactly. So it's a JSON response. So if I come down here, you take a look at the response, you'll see that's an actually serialized JSON context. To get a dictionary, you need to take the string, retrieve from it, .txt, deserialize it using JSON.loads. However, there's a very simpler way to do it by doing .json. So I can say the response.json. So if I do JSON response equals response.json and invoke it, and let's print that JSON response. All right. So if I come over here and do a refresh, nothing's going to display. But now look what you see down here. You can see I've got the status is okay. Total results, I've got 38. And I've got an articles key, which is an array of articles. I can also just verify that that's correct by coming here. I've got status total results 38 and an array of articles. Now I can pass this data, these article data, into my template and do something with it. So where did I go? So I've got that JSON response. And now if I just want all the articles, I could say JSON response and just grab the articles from that JSON response. And now I can pass the articles into the articles or into the top headlines.html file. Now in my top headlines, I can say for article in articles, do a little N4 here. I can do it, div h2, and I can probably do something article. So let's just see what data comes through. I've got the author, title, I've got the source, I got the description, I've even got the image, published at, content. Great. So I can do like article title, article dot title, article dot description. There's the description. Got the URL image to URL to image. So I guess I can also display an image here. Image, the source of that image. Article dot URL to image. I'm going to do width, auto, height. Just do 200 pixels. I can do an alt tag of just nothing right there. Now if I refresh that and I click that, there we go. So now I've got a list of articles. Some of the images are broken, probably because there aren't any images associated with that article. Awesome. So there we go. Now you can do that with not just top headlines, but maybe I can also create a link to the article because the article has a URL associated with it, like so. If I refresh that, I've got a link to the article that will take me to the actual article. But for example, this is specifically for top headlines, but maybe if I added a search in here, search result, I can pass maybe a search result in here and look for, something from, whether it's from the URL or maybe I do a post request in a form and put J. Cole in there, and I'm able to extract the artist from like the request dot post. I think it's like slash like art, like artist or something, whatever you have. And now I've got that artist name, and I can put that artist name in the search query of the API. What questions do you have about extracting data from a third-party API in this manner?
There's a daily
That's
question.
awesome.
Is any of this going to be on the assessment?
Nope. So let's,
Any of this on the next assessment?
yeah, like it's part of your personal project. You need a couple APIs. All right. So yeah, let's keep on going through the group project. So here are some must-haves. A user must be able to search for an artist concert. You must be able to display the concert's locations on a map. Here we go. Must-haves. So as a user, I want to be able to search for an artist concert from the home page and be redirected to a list where their next 5 concerts will be displayed on a map, and the 10 most recent news articles sorted by article popularity. So here you can see some of the where is it? Sources, name, description. You're able to get sources by, sort by popularity, relevancy, published at. So you can sort that automatically by the popularity. You can also return how many results per page. So maybe 10 results per page. As a user, I can search for news based on a search query topic from the nav bar. So maybe have a nav bar, or maybe have a form within the nav bar. The search bar should be on every page of the application. So maybe use some, what is it, templating, some like a base template that has a static nav bar. As a user, I can navigate to a dedicated search news page from the nav bar where it can display the top headlines in the US by default. I kind of just showed you that. As a user, I can filter news based on categories: business, entertainment, general health, science, sports, and technology. Again, here, if you look at the different types, different categories. So you can add a category parameter in your query for business, entertainment, general. So maybe it's just like a button you push, you press, or a link. And as a user, I can search for news based on a search topic on a dedicated search page and sort by relevancy and popularity. I kind of showed you how to do that. So before you even, I know this is a lot to tackle, just take it one step at a time. Try to get your API to display the Ticketmaster. Try to get your API just to get data from the news and just parse through that data. So how you're going to get started. So have one person create a new repository on their personal GitHub, or just fork this one over. So if I wanted to fork it, I can fork this one over like so. Platoon. So if I fork it over, and then whoever decides to fork it over, create a Django template and push it, or Django project, push it up to your GitHub, and then have everyone in your group cloned from your personal GitHub. So here are the directions on how you can manage access and create team members that have access to your project.